In this video, I will talk about how late night shows have changed and how they've gotten more political over the past 40 to 50 years. I will break this period up to be pre and post internet. I will also talk about how the shows relate to sectionalism, and finally, the biggest event that has happened in this period and that can connect to these talk shows is 9/11. I will talk about the effect of this on late night and how it all ties together. Here's Johnny Carson. Not the first late night host, but the one to popularize it. He dominated late night with no competition, and went on to become the host of a late night show from 1962 to 1992. Carson changed the format of the show and would give a short monologue including the news. And with there not being any internet, and no one wanted to read a newspaper, anywhere between 9 and 20 million people would watch Carson's show. Because so many people watched, he was bipartisan about what he said, because he didn't want to alienate half of his audience.
Mr. Carter, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Reagan directly?
Well, yes, he's got three. And the answers are yes, no, and Jockey Brand. He answered the question even before I asked him. Well, Nancy says I'm psychic, and so does George Will. God bless you.
People say he'll never take a serious controversy.
Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that?
But you're not...
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
The next two big hosts were David Letterman and Jay Leno. Letterman started his own show at CBS, The Late Show with David Letterman, and tried to grab a younger audience with guests like Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, while Leno took over for Carson and tried to keep the same audience as him. Other networks tried to grab different audience demographic and throw out hosts to see what would stick, with the Magic Hour being made with its host Magic Johnson, and the Chevy Chase Show. With more shows being made to try to grab audiences, the shows became different from one another. With technology, people didn't need to know politics. Comedy Central's new Daily Show with Jon Stewart decided instead to bash politics, especially certain politicians, which was different from Carson's way of talking about both sides. But if people didn't like what Stewart was saying, then they could just watch some other late night show. This was being carried on with the new wave of hosts like Kimmel, Noah, Colbert, and Fallon, although they still all had different ways of doing the show.
As an American, I have the constitutional right to say that Donald Trump looks like a rotting haystack made of meat, but you cannot.
We are now up to the hosts we have at this time, the main ones being Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, and Jimmy Fallon, each different from the last. Fallon, taking over the show from Leno, is trying to keep the same audience as Leno and Carson. Noah took over The Daily Show from Jon Stewart, keeping the same political satire format, but also talking more about world issues. Colbert took over for Letterman, changing the style to make it more like Stewart, and Kimmel is ABC's new late night show. All these shows have different audiences, which is what they are designed, although this is similar to sectionalism. Obviously they are not about the same issues, but each show is split up. Even though Fallon is the most liked host, Colbert beat him in ratings during the 2016 election because he made fun of the politicians so much. This makes the hosts push the limit about how much they make fun of politics. These shows are meant to make people laugh, although there are times when that shouldn't be the case. When 9/11 happened, all talk shows went off the air for days. The first to come back on September 17th was David Letterman. With his studio based in New York City, he was especially affected. In his monologue, Letterman talks about how a high school in a town with a population of 1,600 was raising money for New York City. He talks about how that was the mood throughout America, everyone supporting each other. And although late night shows had become more sectional throughout these 40 to 50 years, they all came together for this one event.